Welcome back to Mindful Escape, the podcast that inspires you to live your best life. My name's Leighton Dewitt and I am your host, and today we have Alex Kay on the show. Alex runs a couple of businesses and she talks about the transition of working in a corporate role and trying to create a business on the side, the struggles around that and the limiting beliefs around having that safety net and what held her back from actually taking the leap. This is a really exciting episode, so listen closely and we'll jump straight in. Alex, thanks for coming on to Mindful Escape. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you for having me, Leighton. So I don't really know where to begin, to be honest, apart from the fact that I guess I'm on here because I've been able to create a reality that I've more wanted to live around freedom. So my biggest core value is freedom, and everything that I do that drives me, that motivates me, is around freedom. I don't know where that comes from. I guess I've always just sort of felt that way, even as a kid. Like I don't like being restricted. I've always had an issue with authority. But yeah, so I mean, I don't really know where to start, but my path of self-remembrance, if you like, began in 2011. And it was a mixture of meeting someone that sparked like a sort of spiritual connection, and then through there I was just exploring books, and I always sort of felt like there was more to life than just what we were being told. I was just such a curious kid, and I always used to ask my parents very deep questions. But I think as most of us go through life, especially in school, we get quite conditioned. So I guess I was going through the motions of what do you want to call it, reprogramming or unconditioning yourself, like since 2011. And I was still in a corporate job even up until like a couple of years ago, and it was seriously painful. It was such a struggle. But throughout those years I was always starting businesses. Like I think I started my first business in 2013. I've had about 10. I think I've started about 12 or 10 businesses over the past 10 years.
Wow.
And yeah, so I always just sort of felt like I know I'm meant to be doing something else. I know there's more to life. And it was just a process of figuring it all out. Um, yeah, I know that I had a lot of conditions and programs that I wasn't really aware of. And I think a lot of those were holding me back. I've worked a lot with plant medicine to help bring a lot of the awareness to the surface around those programs. And obviously I'm still going through the process even now of like reprogramming my mind. And it's quite a long answer, isn't it? I don't really
Yeah,
know
that's
like how
great.
to begin with that answer.
Yeah, that's really great. And it's exciting for me because freedom is also my number one core value. And only really came about in the last couple of years when I realized actually I don't want to conform to this lifestyle that everyone seems to be conforming to. So yeah, we'll probably come back onto that later. What I wanted to do, if it's okay, is just jump back to when you were still in your corporate world and actually before you even started creating businesses, because I think you were in kind of like an executive assistant kind of role.
Yeah.
What was it that you mentioned spiritual connection, but what was it that triggered you that made you think, right, there is something more, I need to start doing something?
What was it that started to trigger that? I mean, I guess working with plant medicines in 2014 sort of opened up my world a little bit. And then when I started to go down the rabbit hole of, I mean, am I allowed to talk about this? Like, I don't know, people can call me a conspiracy theorist, but I call it conspiracy factors. But whatever you want to call it, I was going down some sort of like rabbit hole around truth. Um, and I'm just trying to really pinpoint, because I really feel like I need to think about that. I'm trying to pinpoint where it really opened up for me, where I was like, oh, it doesn't need to be this way, you know. I
Mm.
think even like growing up, when I just remember having this memory of like, you know, like when you used to go on little road trips with your parents. I don't know if people did this, but with me as a child, I used to go on little road trips with my parents. And obviously coming out of London, I was born and bred in London, so for me growing up, like my whole world was London. And then this sounds so small-minded, but obviously as a kid you think that world that you live in is just everything, and that's all there is. But obviously the more I was traveling as a child, like my parents used to take me away and stuff like that, and I used to think, how how is everyone living outside of London? How do these people make money? And there's so many big houses out of London, and like, how are they making money? So that, I think, was like the first sort of thought in my head. But I was growing up in quite a conditioned state that, you know, you have to go to school and then you buy a house, then you get married, then you go to, I mean, obviously not in this order. You go to school, you go to university, you get a job, you meet someone, you get married, you buy a house, that kind of like set thing. And I never really fit into that, but I was never really given any other option as to what does reality, or what does a reality look like outside of that box. So I sort of had to like figure it all out myself, really. But through, obviously, going down my path, obviously, like working with plant medicines, going down these rabbit holes and opening up my consciousness and my awareness to other realities, I started to realize, oh my God, like I can actually create my own reality. I can actually create the life I want to live. So even if it seems impossible, and for a long time it did, like I wanted to leave my corporate world for years, and I still remember having this conversation. I was just finished a mushroom ceremony, and I was outside speaking to one of the facilitators, and I was like, I really want to leave my corporate job. I don't know how, like it seems impossible. I really don't know how. And they just kept saying, you need to trust the process. You need to follow what your soul is saying to you, follow your heart. And it sounds so cliche, but now that I've done it all, I really understand. Like I totally get it. And there is really no other way to sort of say it, really, because you have to just follow your own path, basically. But it's sort of coming into that and breaking away from other people's expectations of yourself, like for example my parents' expectations of me, or, you know, being afraid of what other people might think, or coming into your authentic self. So I guess I'm going to say that was the pinpoint moment, is outside the mushroom retreat. I know this is such a long-winded answer. I'm sorry. You're probably going to have to cut a lot of this out, but outside the mushroom retreat, and that was about 4 years ago. And even though I'd been working with plant medicine for a little while, I just still couldn't get outside of my head of like how impossible it seemed. But yeah, that is the moment that I thought, oh, I can create my own reality.
Yeah, that's so good. I've been working a lot recently on belief systems and talking about what you were saying, being conditioned by this way of living and thinking this is the only path to go down. This is what we have to do. The school, the job, the house, the marriage, whatever, that path. It's like that's laid out for us and we're expected to take those steps. But for so many people, it's like, hang on, this doesn't really feel right. And perhaps there's a different route for me. And it's so good that you've got to this stage. And I love that you were experimenting alongside your job with businesses and trying different things. And I guess it must have been really hard to keep that job and do things at the same time. What was the biggest challenge for you around managing that corporate job and trying to perform and do your best while also trying to create businesses and thinking, right, and there's another world out there for me?
It was so difficult because, I mean, my passion and my heart wasn't in any of the jobs that I was doing. And to be honest, I've had so many corporate jobs, partly because I left, or I've been fired so many times just because I just didn't fit in, or they didn't feel like I was doing good enough. And maybe I wasn't, just because my focus was always elsewhere. As a child, I always sort of knew, like I just knew I always knew I was going to have my own business. I just know that I'm going to reach that freedom. I don't know how, I always just knew that. But my dad had his own business, so I used to sort of like witness how he used to run his business, or how he used to act, and I guess that kind of always stayed in my mind, really. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I've had, like I said, I've had about like 12 businesses over the past 10 years, and most of them I've had to close down because it was like this conflict going on within me of like, okay, I need financial stability, but really I want this freedom, and really I want to be creating this. And at the same time, my none of my businesses really took off because I was blocking myself, because I'm staying in something that I shouldn't be in, but also because this is something that I'm still very much battling within my business, is a lack of self-belief and self-worth. And I've been doing a lot of childhood work over the past couple of years, which I'm still very much doing. Like I'm still very much in the depth of it, because even now, like it still affects the progression of my businesses. So for me, it was like I've always had this belief of I can't make money. I don't know. I can't generate my own money, even though it's such a stupid belief, because I'm doing it. Like I'm not in a corporate job anymore. Like, and it's still a belief that I still hold, that I'm still trying to work on letting go. I mean, I've been working with a few different coaches on this, even just because I mean, even I need help with this, you know. It's such a strong belief, but I mean, that was the challenge. That was always the biggest challenge, of like letting go, trusting the process, and feeling that unsafety, you know, like taking that big leap, feeling the fear and doing it anyway, is, again, as cliche as it sounds, but it is, because that's what it is. I mean, I was so done at the point that I left my corporate job. I was just so done. But again, like a retreat with plant medicine really helped to just push that initial fear out of me, and that's how I ended up doing it. But um it's that conflict again, yeah, of wanting that safety, you know, wanting to be in control, and then the lack of self-belief, and then these like limiting beliefs and programs. So yeah, it was like this constantly. Yeah, so I mean, that's why I had so many jobs and so many businesses all at
Yeah.
once.
And I feel like this is such a juicy topic. It's something I've been talking a lot about recently because I also had this safety blockage, and I kept thinking, oh, I need to have this as a safety net, or I need to have a backup, or I need to have this something to fall back on. And I guess that was just ingrained in me from when I was growing up. Also, what's your plan B, or what if that doesn't work out? And it was that negative angle or that perspective. And then, yeah, I just realized that actually I need to take that safety net away and just jump and just go for it and just go all in and really embrace what I want to do now. Thinking back to when you made that shift, I was actually having a conversation the other day about safety, and someone mentioned to me that they've realized that safety is one of their core values. And I was thinking, I'm not sure if that is a core value or if that's just something that's ingrained into you and you need that to protect yourself right now. What's your thoughts on that, and how did that affect you, and how did you make that shift?
I think safety is an illusion, because throughout life is just a constant change. Like we're always going through changes. There is no certainty in life, apart from the fact that the only certainty in life is that there's always going to be change happening. That is the only certainty. I wouldn't label safety as a value myself either. I think that stems really from what I feel is that it stems from a need of wanting to be in control, because I've been there. I can sort of understand where this person might be coming from, because I have this need to always want to be in control. I have to practice letting go quite a lot. I mean, I've been on, like, the past 2 years, a journey of learning about surrender. It's been painful. It's been so uncomfortable, but it's what I've realized is that everything will always be okay. I don't think safety is not a certainty. Like, safety is not something that you can ever really control. I mean, that's just my view. Of course, like there is loads of views, but I mean, that's just based on my experiences that I've come through, and I have been one of those people that blocked myself because of safety. I think safety is a bit of a block, you know.
I
I
agree.
think it can be a block. I think we should embrace the uncomfortable experiences in life. I think we should embrace like these fearful experiences. It's like, I'll be completely open and honest. At the moment, my businesses are quite rocky at the moment. So I've been going through this like feeling of, oh my God, this feels so uncomfortable. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, am I going to be able to pay rent next month? Like that sort of feeling. But I know I will, because I know that I will always be okay. Because even when I left my corporate job, I had no idea how I was going to pay rent from month to month. I had no idea. And that's like 2.5 years on now. And even when I look back, I wouldn't even be able to tell you like a specific strategy, or, oh, Leighton, this is how I paid rent every month over the past 2.5 years. It's just happened, like, because everything always falls into place. And there is a process that we have to go through of trust. We have to learn to trust again. You know, like another thing that really opened my mind around other sort of realities was I got really deep into researching tribal culture. I got really, really obsessed with it because for me, it just resonated as the way that we all should be living. This to me is like the most unhealthy, toxic way. I mean, I'm talking about the Western way that we live. To me, like this is the illusion. Like this safety is an illusion. I know I'm going back and forth, but when you look at the way tribes live and have lived for thousands of years, I mean, they don't rely on things that we rely on, you know, like they very much have a really strong community, for example. You know, they live with nature, they are one with nature, they respect it, and they live amongst it. You know, and there is another way of living. They don't have to go into London and have a corporate job, like, or wherever they are. Do you know what I mean? Like they don't need to have a corporate job or whatever it is. They literally, I'm talking about the real tribes, like you know, the tribes that don't rely on money, the tribes that are like living just on the earth, and they manage to live every single day. So there must be another way of living, and that was another thing that really opened my mind. But it's like, just going back to the safety thing, is I think it's an illusion from my perspective.
Yeah. Talking about everything is going to be okay. When I left London, I went to a yoga and meditation retreat. And one of the first messages I kind of received was, trust your gut, everything will be okay. And as I've like tried different things and done all these things outside my comfort zone, just having that in the back of my mind, everything will be okay, it'll be fine, is great. And now as things are evolving, I'm starting to have this thing of, actually, it could be better than okay. And if I just stay where I am, it will stay as it is. But if I keep trying, it will be okay, or it will be better than okay. And that excitement just keeps me going and trying new things and pushing myself outside my comfort zone. And as you said, like embracing that uncertainty.
Absolutely. It's like the whole comfort zone thing. That's what keeps us stuck. You know, like what I've just shared now is that I'm going through a bit of a challenging period right now within my businesses. But yeah, like you say, I know I'll be okay. I know that I'll be more than okay. But it's that uncomfortability, that feeling within that is making me want to move, learn, or progress into a different direction. And without that uncomfortability, I wouldn't move. I would stay, because comfort just makes you stay where you are. So I know that what I'm going through at the moment is not a bad thing. It's not a negative thing that I'm going through, even though I'm sharing. It does feel very uncomfortable. But yes, we have to go through these times. But I have faith. I have faith and trust. Like, you know, whatever happens, like, I mean, worst case scenario, what's the worst case scenario? I'm going to have to close my business. I'll start another one. I've done it before. I've done it like how many times? And, you know, and each time I've learned something new, something new, something new. So yeah, it's a learning process, isn't it? I just feel like life is one big school.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about school, um, you mentioned already a few lessons that you've kind of learned along the way. And this has been, it sounds like quite an up and down journey, going from your corporate and starting the business on the side and now doing it full time. Is there one or maybe two main lessons that have stuck with you throughout this journey?
Okay, one is, I feel like there was just a few coming in my head all at once just then. It was like, this. Okay, well, one thing that I've really started to learn is that I really have to sort of come into my own flow. Where I was in the corporate world for so many years, I mean, what was it, 16 years I've been in the corporate world? That's quite a long time. Like, you're also being conditioned when you're in the corporate world, conditioned to work a 9 to 5, conditioned to be at your laptop like 8 hours a day or whatever it is, like not being able to like leave your laptop. Or um I definitely believe that there are many types of ways to work. And as a business owner, or as someone that just wants to leave their role and do something else, there's so many different ways to work. Like, I don't really have much structure anymore. I feel like I want to have structure, and I should have structure in my life. um I've tried to take that sort of structural way of working in the corporate world into the way that I work now. It's not working. It's just not working for me. And I feel like that's sort of just like old paradigm thinking. So like, I mean, even now, still, even today, I'm still sort of learning, like, what is the way that I need to work? What is the best way for me to work that is going to yield success. And I'm still very much learning my flow, and everyone's going to have their own flow. So I think it's good to take things from other people, take inspiration, take advice and suggestions, but ultimately, like, you need to find your own way and your own flow, which I'm still very much learning. And I did have a second one and now I've forgotten now. This always happens. Like, I just talk and I go off on a tangent. um the second lesson, yeah, I mean, it's again, I've spoken about it before, it's kind of cliche, but it is about trusting. It's about trusting yourself. It's about coming into your authenticity. And I know this is a big discussion at the moment about everyone being authentic, but you know, on a collective level, there is a huge shift happening anyway. Like, there's a huge expansion of consciousness, so it's only natural that, you know, the talk of authenticity is going to be such a big discussion at the moment, because we're all sort of coming into it. We're all sort of coming away from our conditioned program state of being, and now we're all sort of discovering ourselves. So I mean, that for me would like be lesson number 2, is just take as much time as you need out to invest in yourself and learn who you are. Because especially when I came out of the corporate world, I had this vision, and obviously I had my mission and I had my business plan, but then I started to realize I don't know what my value is. You know, like, when I started to use LinkedIn a little bit more for like personal branding, if you like, or just sharing about my businesses, I started to realize I'm just talking about myself. Like, I'm not really putting much value. So what is the value that I have, and what is the value that I want to share with people? And I'm still very much learning that aspect now. I mean, I know that I have value. It's just trying to pinpoint it and then share it. So yeah, I mean, the 2 lessons, as I say, learn your flow is number 1, like, just get to know your flow. And 2 is just about trusting yourself and learning more about yourself, learning your values, learning your gifts, knowing what your power is. Um, so I guess both those lessons are basically around self-discovery.
Yeah, I've been playing with routines as well, and it's so true. I kind of started with this mentality of, okay, I'm going to work between this hour and this hour. And then all of a sudden I was thinking, why am I working between these hours? Like, what conditions have been set? What do I need to unlearn to forget this? And now I've started running my business around my lifestyle. So if I want to go to the beach at 4 o'clock, I can go to the beach and then I'll come back and work at 6. It doesn't matter. I don't need to be at the laptop from 9 till 5. And it's so ingrained into us. It's so hard to get out of us, isn't it? Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, so routine is a really fun one. And I wanted to ask you about trusting yourself, because you mentioned you're working on it at the moment, and it's a big one for a lot of people, because I think when you're working for someone else, you have a certain type of confidence in what you're doing. But when you start stepping outside your comfort zone and doing something that maybe aligns more with your values, trying to provide a different type of value to the world, like you say, it does maybe knock our confidence a little bit, or we lack that self-belief. Is there anything you've done, or any tools or techniques that you implement that help you build that self-confidence, that self-belief muscle, if you like?
Think I'm still very much in the process of learning that, you know. I've been really blessed that I've had really encouraging people around me, because there have been so many times that I've wanted to quit. I'm going to be so open and honest here. Like, even this week, at the beginning of this week, I was sitting there thinking, wow, okay, shall I? Because everything was just getting so overwhelming and stressful. I'm not saying like things are so financially bad that I'm not going to pay rent next month, but it's just like the stress level, the overwhelm, the amount that I have to do. And I was literally just thinking, oh my God, shall I just get a job because it sort of feels easier? And so sometimes you want to have that easy option, but it's like you sort of have to carry on. And then I guess what really drives me to carry on is, I just, maybe it's an ego thing, I don't know, but I just cannot go back to a job. I wouldn't be able to, because of the freedom that I've experienced over the last couple of years, and how I'm slowly sort of, I'm not there yet with, I couldn't just sit here and say, oh, I'm literally living my dream reality right now. No, I'm on the way. I'm building it. I'm on the path. It's not exactly where I want it to be yet, but I'm still very much building it. but the fact that I can see the progress, the fact that I can look back and see, and maybe that's like one practice that I guess is like looking back and looking at your progress, which sometimes I do have to sit and do. It's really taking that time out and reflecting and going, oh my God, right, look where I was. And it's about talking to yourself. I have the very bad habit of like talking to myself very negatively. And that's still like a program from, I don't know, when I was bullied, when I was a child, and when I was discouraged by teachers, you know, so it is sort of like ingrained in me a little bit. I'm practicing at the moment, just reversing everything that the negative talk is saying, basically, and just saying you wouldn't be where you are if you didn't have the skills that you have. You wouldn't be where you are if you didn't have the gifts, if you weren't on the mission that you're meant to be on. Because another aspect of it is that, you know, we're all on a mission. We all have this spiritual life mission that we're on. Whether you know what it is or whether you don't, you're probably already on it unconsciously. So it's just about following that. But I think slowing down is one of the biggest practices I have been instilling, because I'm such a like I'm like triple fire in my star chart, by the way. So it's just like I'm like, just my mind doesn't stop. I'm constantly on the go. I enjoy being busy. Like my mind likes to be mentally stimulated. So for me, like one of the biggest practices I've had to work on is slowing down, like taking that time out to just sit, reflect, and do nothing, and be okay with not doing anything, even for a day, half a day, an hour, whatever it is, and just telling yourself you will always be busy. There are always going to be things to do. You will get it done, because I always do get it done. So it always happens. So it's just yeah, it's just about slowing down. Basically, I would say is one of the biggest practices I've been learning.
Yeah, one of the biggest obstacles for people making change is that their brain waves are running too fast. And when you're in that state of like fight or flight and your brain waves are just constantly going, you can't fathom having to make those changes because it's too uncomfortable. And slowing down, yeah, is massive. And also
Also,
having
I wait. Sorry, I just wanted to add, like, I make the worst decisions when I'm in a state of desperation compared to when I'm in a state of trust and calm and love, basically. Yeah,
yeah,
being loving to yourself.
yeah. I think the other thing you said, which is so important, is having encouraging people around you, because it can get a little bit lonely sometimes, or feel a little bit lonely when you're going and you're going against the grain and you're trying these new things, and it feels like, why am I the only one going in this direction? But there are people out there who are supportive and will help you. And yeah, it's speaking to the right people. And if you've got that around you, that's amazing.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why I started New Earth Networks. So, I mean, I know I haven't spoken much about any of my ventures during the call, but I mean, New Earth Networks is it's a networking platform to unite soulful businesses, like soulful business owners, conscious creatives, so that you're not on your own. You know, like that includes even freelance people that, you know, maybe you're not sitting there as a business owner building like some massive large business, but you're a freelancer. And um it's just about uniting all of us, because we all have this same vision, we all have this same drive, we all share sort of like-hearted incentives. So it's just about uniting us to support, because I think really community is such a massive thing. And if there's anything that I've realized in business alone, is that you cannot do it. You cannot do it alone. You
Yeah.
need you need other people around you. You need to learn from other people. You need other people to support you and share your ventures, you know.
Yeah. While we're on this topic, do you want to tell us a little bit more about what you're doing right now? Any projects you want to share with us, or what you're up to?
Um, I mean, I'm like going back and forth all the time of like, shall I pause? Shall I pause? Because I feel like I'm just doing too much. And yeah, I mean, I created Ascending Tribe in 2018, and Ascending Tribe is, well, it was started as just meant to be like uniting people through events in 2018, but it's sort of evolved into a platform for self-discovery and personal mastery. And it's all through sort of like educational tools, seminars, ceremonies. I'm also a sound therapist as well, so I hold retreats and group sound sessions. I do one-to-one sound therapy sessions as well. So all of that sort of falls under Ascending Tribe. One of my biggest passions is obviously the sovereignty movement. And that sort of, I feel like you can apply that to every single aspect, not just a legal or lawful aspect, but it's about spiritual and personal sovereignty. It's just about taking your power back on sort of every level, not just obviously authority wise or government wise. I just don't know how to say it really without sounding a little bit controversial. But yeah, so I've got a seminar coming up this at the end of this month, which is another sovereignty seminar. And then there's going to be more of those coming. And then that's basically what I do with Ascending Tribe. And then in New Earth Networks, like I said, it's just a networking platform. I host speed networking calls, meetups, just to unite people and connect other heart-centered business owners. And then my other venture, which I have had to pause it at the moment, whether or not I bring it back, but it's Fireflow Collective, and it's just basically a business consultancy for like, again, soulful businesses and conscious creatives to just help them get started, or if they've already started and they want to expand, or they just need that little bit of push or direction, or need help with strategy, then I sort of just give them that as well. So yeah, those are my three little ventures. I've got something else that's like as well, but I do that with my partner, and that's it's not soulful related.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
those are little ventures.
Yeah, I love they're all making the world a better place. So that's why I love them so much. Yeah.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
before we finish up, I was wondering if you were to meet your younger self, and let's go back to just before you started the entrepreneurial journey, is there any advice you'd give yourself?
Am I going back to 8 years old?
Let's
How young?
go to, so you started this journey in around 2011. So
Yeah.
to go back to like 2009, 2010.
Okay. Um, I was in quite a dark place then. So, and I was for quite a few years before as well. The advice that I would give is, I don't know if this is advice, but it's just, I would literally just say things will get better. Like, just trust the process, because things will get better. Obviously, you have to put the work in, and you have to make the changes. But I would say awareness is the biggest step. Awareness is the biggest first step. And get to know yourself. That's what I would say to myself, because I was avoiding myself constantly. I was in such a dark place for so many years because I was just constantly running from myself. So I think that would be like the number one biggest advice for myself back then is get to know yourself. I feel like I would shake myself, to be honest, because I was a little bit, yeah, stubborn. Thought I knew it all, like, but I actually knew nothing. I still know nothing, but yeah, that would be my advice. Get to know yourself.
Yeah, it's great advice. And I really like that you express that in that stage you thought you knew it all. And it's funny because when I think about giving advice to my younger self, I always think, oh, he won't listen anyway, so what's the
Yeah,
point?
exactly. Oh, I probably wouldn't either. I had people telling me the same thing, to be honest, back then, and I wasn't listening. But I think it's just a process. So that's why I also say, like, trust the process. Life is such an adventure, man. Like, the older that I'm getting, seriously, I mean, I'm going to be 35 next year. I know that I'm probably not that old. Like, a lot of people still tell me that I'm quite young, but it's just like the older that I'm getting, the more I'm enjoying life, the older that I get. It's such an adventure. Even the ups and downs, even the downs, it's an adventure. So yeah, trust the process.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. And Alex, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, Leighton. I'm really grateful. Thank you.
And there we have it. Thank you so much for listening. The biggest takeaway for me was around the possibility of creating your own reality. And the truth is that anyone can create their own reality. You can live the life that you truly want to lead, but you need to step outside of those comfort zones, those conditions that have been set by society, by your family, by school, by your corporate job that say you have to do things a certain way. If you're ready to start living a new life, a better life, a life that you feel passionate about, then take those steps outside your comfort zone. Start doing things to improve, start doing things to move yourself in the right direction, and enjoy it. Enjoy the process, embrace that uncertainty, and start living your best life today. If you enjoyed this episode and found value, make sure you share it on social media, and I'll see you again, same time next week. Thanks for listening.